Welcome back. Federal IT leaders say the acquisition workforce Christine Harada talked about in the first part of this program has a huge task ahead to buy the cutting-edge technology agencies need for digital transformation. One example for how to do it already lives inside one agency. Karen Brazell is Vice President for Veterans Affairs in the Civilian Business Group at SAIC. Karen, welcome. Thanks for joining me. The example I'm referring to is the Procurement Innovation Lab at the Department of Homeland Security. What are they doing there that's different and that other agencies you think should emulate?
Well, first, Francis, thank you for having me. So the PIL offers an innovative, they offer the framework for innovative acquisition techniques where practitioners, acquisition practitioners can come together and share ideas and actually promote streamlined procurement.
Have you seen that start to permeate other agencies? There are other examples of it kind of anecdotally at agencies across government, but have you seen that kind of filter out into other ways, into other kind of standard operating procedures for acquisition yet?
Well, I do know that NASA has the nail. GSA has their procurement innovation, their PIRC. And there's other department agencies following suit because they do realize that today the technology has already outpaced the governance.
The technology outpacing the governance is maybe the biggest hurdle. Christine talked about that a moment ago, is the acquisition workforce building a level of knowledge about the technology that they're acquiring. What's the right mix there? How much does an acquisition person need to know about what she or he is buying in order to be able to buy it effectively?
Well, first and foremost, it starts with valid requirements. You got to have clear requirements to ensure that you're being efficient and using resources wisely. Second, I do believe it takes leadership. Leadership is what drives the culture of any organization. And you have to have visionary leaders who are willing to embrace innovation. And not to mention the FAR. We hear oftentimes, at least in my career, the FAR prohibits me. The way I look at it is if the federal acquisition regulation doesn't say you can't, find a way that you can and be innovative. And the leaders need to promote creativity among their acquisition professionals.
That last element of creativity and knowing what the FAR says you can and can't do specifically was something I know you worked on when you were at the Department of Veterans Affairs doing this exact thing. How did you get that into people's minds that it's okay, you're going to have room to try different things and be creative?
I would say a lot of that came with our VA Acquisition Academy, and of course that's chaired by the Senior Procurement Executive. And that every time we had a graduation, the Senior Procurement Executive, Dr. Angela Billups, and I would be up there, and we'd encourage the team. Because we would ask, what are some of your, what prohibits you today? And a lot of it, well, my leadership won't let me, or the FAR doesn't let me. And we would say, if the FAR, again, let's go back, if the FAR doesn't prohibit you, find a way to yes. Find a way to actually excel those acquisition techniques and take risks. Some of the other things I do believe that are applicable today is other transaction authorities. I know the VA was looking at starting to socialize that acquisition strategy on my way out the door. The Department of Defense is doing it, and then you also have SIBRs, the Small Innovative Business Research.
The requirements piece that you mentioned is something that both in defense and civilian procurement people have been talking about for a long time. What moves people, other than mechanisms like the Procurement Innovation Lab, to a less prescriptive and more flexible requirement structure, do you think? Is it really just a leadership issue, or is there something else that you think has to happen?
I do believe it starts with the stakeholders. To me, it starts with the person with the need. But you have to bring all the stakeholders to the table. Your program office has to be involved, and it's a cradle-to-grave approach throughout the entire acquisition life cycle. And again, it goes back to encouraging leaders to take those risks, but find a way that's legal. Embracing your procurement law group. A lot of people feel that you bring them in towards the end and that's when they say no. But all the stakeholders to the table throughout the entire process.
We have about a minute left. Who would you like to see around the table? Same question as I had for Christine a moment ago. Who should be around the table to help make these things work from the very beginning, in your view?
Your stakeholders. Specifically, I would say you've got to have federal government, you've got to have your industry leaders like SAIC who's out there leading Gen AI. You also need to have academia. But at the Department of Veterans Affairs, I'll say specifically, you need to have some of the veterans and their coalitions at the table with you.
Those stakeholders are the people who receive the services from the agency that's providing them, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Karen, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Francis.
You can read more about Karen's ideas on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com.